Sodor Railway Adventures, Episode 2, Pity for Percy. It was sundown on the island of Sodor, and Percy was finishing up Carrying Annie and Clarabel when he encountered a small problem right as he was about to reach Nappert Station. He found a cow right on the track. He started whistling at the cow. Nothing happened. "Please, cow," said Percy, "can you please move out of my way? I'm going to be late to deliver the coaches to Nappert Station." Percy had to carry Annie and Clarabel because Thomas was at the works. So Percy had the job to carry Annie and Clarabel and the passengers. But with this cow in the way, Percy was going to be very late to arrive at Nappert Station. Eventually, the cow did move out of the way. Percy was back on his way to the station. By the time Percy had arrived, it was very late and very dark. James was waiting for him, and he was very angry. "Percy," snapped James, "you were supposed to be here over an hour ago. What took you so long?" "A cow was on the track," said Percy. "Whatever," said James. "Just get your passengers into my coaches, and then I'll be off." "Huh," said James. James was growing very impatient, since the passengers were taking a very long time. Hurry along," said James. He was growing very impatient. I'm ready," he snorted. "Oh," said Percy, and he thought about the time James needed a bootlace in one of his coaches. "So I guess a bootlace makes you ready," said Percy. James hated to be reminded of the time a bootlace was needed to fix a hole in one of his coaches, but he ignored Percy. Percy laughed to himself as he chuffed off back to the station. When Percy was on his way back to the sheds, James was very angry. "Huh, me being ready with a bootlace? Rubbish." "That won't happen again," said James, and as soon as the conductor blew his whistle, James was off. Soon James puffed right out of the station, and he was on his way. As he puffed into the countryside, the light grew very dim very quickly. As James puffed through the darkness, the only thing that was keeping him from not seeing anything was the moonlight. One of James's first stops was at Edward Station. He waited impatiently as the passengers boarded and unboarded the coaches. James quickly passed by Farmer McCool's farm as he continued along the track back to the station. James raced past Farmer McCool's earlier, and then he rattled through right over the river, past the station, and he entered Nappert Station once again. It was very late when James finally pulled into the station. It was later when Percy had arrived originally. Diesel had just finished making a line of freight cars for a goods train that Percy had to take. Percy had just arrived. "Ah, yes," said Diesel to Percy. "You're just the engine I'm looking for." Percy knew that it was about his goods train, so he set off to go around and get the train ready. James, however, was waiting for his passengers to unload so he can head off and go to sleep. Percy had backed up into the freight cars. But when Diesel was on his way, "Be careful with those freight cars," said Diesel. "They might cause trouble, especially on how dark it is." Percy ignored what Diesel had said, and Diesel knew this, but he just went off to his shed. However, James had actually listened to Diesel. "You might want to listen to Diesel." "Pish posh," said Percy. "I can handle the trucks. I can handle them very well." "Suit yourself," said James. All the passengers on his train had finished unloading, so James went off to drop off the coaches, and Percy was off to be by himself. The conductor blew his whistle. Percy thought to himself, "Pish posh," said Percy. "I can handle these trucks very well. I don't need anybody else's meddling," said Percy rudely, as he chuffed off down the countryside. The trucks wanted to play a joke on Percy, and they decided to do this by holding back their brakes. And Scruffy yelled at the other trucks, "All right, hold on your brakes," and all the trucks did so, as they were told. However, when Percy was coming along the line, something happened. "Ah, what was that?" said Percy, and then the driver had soon stopped the train immediately. The driver had inspected the damage. "Percy, it appears that your connecting rods had fallen off." "Bother," said Percy. "Well, you're not going to be going anywhere," said the driver. Percy felt very sad, and he knew that James would be coming out to rescue him and teasing him, but he really hoped that James wouldn't be the one who would be rescuing him. When James's driver got word of this, he fired up James, and soon he was off. James was laughing and laughing. "Ha ha ha," said James. "Percy needs help from little old me." James chuckled all the way there until he finally reached Percy. James had a ride right after his last laugh, and soon his driver hopped off, and soon he began fixing Percy's connecting rods. Percy felt a very weird feeling when James's driver was fixing his connecting rods. "What are you doing to them?" asked Percy. "Well," said James's driver, "I'm actually using super glue." "Super glue?" said Percy. James hadn't known this on what he was using to fix Percy's connecting rods, and he began to laugh and laugh. "Be quiet," snapped Percy. "This is only temporary. At least I hope." "Yes, it is," said James's driver. "After this train, you are going to be sent to the works where you can be repaired." "All right," said Percy. "I do not like the super glue, but I guess we'll have to do." When they were done, James puffed off, and Percy could finally finish his load. He was just on his way back to the station. Very, very sad. By the time Percy had arrived at the station, everybody was already there, and morning had already started. James had just finished up telling all the other engines about Percy's adventures. All the engines laughed at Percy. Well, Percy," said James, "I guess you kind of have a bootlace of your own." Percy did not enjoy this one bit. After this experience, Percy has learned his lesson and never learned how to make fun of James's bootlace ever again, because James can always respond with the same response. So Topham Hatt sent Percy away to go to the works. So he was sent to the works to get his connecting rods fixed, but while he was there, he also got to be with Thomas. Percy has now learned his lesson, and now he never says anything about James's bootlace ever again.